Welcome to the Endurance Balance. I'm Coach J.W. McKenna. Joining me are Coach Alicia Phillips and Coach Ann Sharkey. Together, we break down the 80-20 philosophy through the lens of real life. Our goal is simple, to help you fit the training into the chaos. Let's get into today's episode.
Okay, redo.
No, that's okay.
I'll just go with it. Here we are. We're back.
It's going to be a fun episode today. Welcome back to the Endurance Balance. I'm Coach JW, and joining me at the table are coaches Alicia and Ann. Endurance sports have a steep learning curve and unwritten rules of the trail, the pool, and the road, and they aren't always obvious to new or even experienced athletes. Today, we're sharing a friendly, what you don't know can help you guide to etiquette that keeps our community safe. From yielding politely on single track to navigating transition zones, we're breaking down how to share the space and fit your training into the chaos with grace. Let's open up the training logs. What do we have going on since our last meeting? And because Coach Ann is at the top of my screen, we'll start with you.
Oh, yay. What's been going on? I missed the last podcast. That's what was going on, right?
It's because you didn't care, right?
Where you all talked about motivation and then I was the complete slacker. No, I was sick. I don't know where that came from, but finally better. And so what's I'm stumbling over my words. I kind of started getting back into, I've been doing weights, right? I've been adding that into my routine. Doing a little bit of run, walk, a little kind of just mixing it up, keeping it simple. I have chosen, this isn't breaking news, I have chosen not to go with dragon boat racing this season.
Oh.
I know.
Why not?
They changed the time on it. So it really, they narrowed it down. It wasn't before it was an evening option for a practice. And now it's, either a Saturday or a Sunday morning. And those times are I'm pretty protective over my weekends. You know, we spent so many years of giving everything to our triathlon team and to the business. And, I just didn't want to have a commitment even though it's only 10 weeks, I just didn't want it. I just didn't want to have that commitment and not have an option to go to the beach or you good? Those kind of things. So dragon boat racing is not going to happen, but, I am going to venture out to open water swim this weekend. I'm very excited about, water has been ridiculously warm, and pretty calm for now. So, I have a friend from Kansas City that recently moved to the area and, she's a fellow triathlete. So I have a buddy to go with now and it's going to be a good time. So, athletes training, I've got, just plugging along for 70.3 North Carolina. And then other than that, just kind of same on. There has been a little bit of chatter since the registration for Ironman Jacksonville opened back up. So there's been some chatter on my phone about some people who decided that they swore at the finish line that they were never, ever, ever going to do that again. And please come and throat punch me if I ever decide this again. And then that we know how this goes, right? Registration opens and they're like, guess what? I signed up. Do you want to race? I'm like, wait a minute. What happened? But I say that, but I know that we all have done that where we swear never, ever, ever again. And yet here we are going back for more because you always believe you can do just a little bit better the next time. Or it's a new bike course this year. So I think a lot of people are going to be like, ooh, I want to see what the new bike course is. So I'm very excited for that one. I think I have some friends racing that one definitely, regardless of if I'm coaching or not, I'll probably make that trip back up just to spectate and be around. So
Do you think promoters do that on purpose? So you just mentioned the new bike course. Oh, I want to go check it out. New bike course. I wonder if promoters kind of do that on purpose, trying to spark interest.
I don't know. I think I don't know. In this case, I know there were some permitting issues, and there was a lot going on that bike course. I don't know. It was all over the national news about there was a drunk driver that got on the bike course. And there were some very, very angry people on like cars, pedestrian wise, trying to get through some areas that they completely shut down the road. So those counties in particular, where the congestion was the heaviest and people were just pissed, would not renew the permits for next year. So I think in this case it was warranted, but maybe the first year is always a learning lesson. And that's why I personally don't love inaugural events, because I feel like there are just too many kinks to work out before somebody, gets it figured out, or who knows if they'll even do it the second year too. But anyway, it's in the works, and Jacksonville's next May. So yeah, we'll see.
Any new listeners? We actually did talk about inaugural races in an episode. I can't remember which one, though. Do you remember which one that was?
Oh, my gosh. I didn't even remember what you're talking about tonight. Why are you asking me?
True story.
That is true.
Coach Ann's like, what are we talking about tonight? And it's like,
we had a meeting last week to talk about this. I clearly did not. Yes.
That's too funny. Alicia.
Yeah, so I am, as I was saying, I'm officially in my training for my Azores trail trip, which consists of it's going to be 7 days of every day we're racing, trail running, anywhere between a 5K to a 10K, 15K, can't remember. So my Garmin's been very nice to me, telling me I'm productive, and it just feels good to be being told what to do again. But it's still very humbling. I'm doing this training with my sister, so it's always just fun to have that accountability of did you do it today? How much did this one suck? Or here we go. So that has definitely been fun. And it feels good. It's always humbling, but it feels good.
Are you coaching your sister?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
So we're actually, we're running 4 days a week. So it's 2 foundation and then 2 kind of spicier runs, and then cross training in between. That has definitely been something of making that transition of I need to pull back on strength training. So I'm fresh for my workout or for my runs. So again, it's going into that specificity and focusing on what you need. I've been on the hunt for some good trail shoes. So I don't know, JW, if you have any recommendations, because there's nothing great out there. Merrell's?
Merrell's. Love my Merrell's. Not affiliated, not paid by Merrell or anything like that. Okay. Just for everybody knows.
My sister got the Topos.
Okay.
Topo. Yeah, they're supposed to be a good shoe.
They're a nice wide toe grip. I can't find them anywhere. I want to try them on, and I think REI maybe has them. I'm not sure where, but
Jess just replaced hers too, because we had some the Sky Fires. I think there's something they were called. They're pretty fancy shoes if you want to go fancy in shoes kind of thing, right? But when we tried them out, we really loved them. They're super light. They're so Merrell's, yeah, they're so comfy. And because if you're looking for trails, right, these particular ones too, we're going to talk about stuff people don't know here shortly. I do not recommend that you take trail shoes and use them on your training runs on the pavement. Because they have the softer soles, right? Because they want them a bit more grippier for the trail, and the lugs and everything on the shoe will always kind of be important. To me personally, when we start getting into drops and that, they're pretty irrelevant when we get into trail running, right? You're either uphill, downhill, you're side hill, you're doing all this stuff. Your drops are going to be pretty meaningless. And I think just Merrell's have just done a really good job on theirs. I'll drop a link in of the ones that we've been using. I wear them coaching the soccer, just because they are very, very comfy.
I used to wear my trail shoes a lot on snowy runs too. So when you're over the winter time, whenever it's it beats those yak tracks.
The yak tracks.
Those things.
Yeah, I just like the the
Do
tractions.
those Merrells have a carbon sole or carbon plate? I mean, for protection
I
from
don't
the
believe
rocks?
so, because you don't want a stiff shoe on the trail. I don't think you if
Right.
anything, you're going to get like we particularly will always look at the toe box for sure, right? And then also, things that maybe runners don't know, you don't know, the top loop, like hole in your running shoes, they're actually meant for locking in your feet.
Yes.
Right. And so I typically don't use them. I hardly ever even use them with the trail shoes. I like my speed laces because for me, as my feet swell, I don't want to have to be adjusting my tie-up laces all the time. So with my kind of expanding speed laces, they will expand with my feet swelling on the runs. And remember, we're talking about, 8-9 hour runs, and some athletes out there for 30-35 hours kind of thing. Like right now we got the Divide 200. So they got 5 days of running, right? Ahead of them. So I digress. But so going back, check them out. We'll drop a link in if you want to check them out. We tried them 2 seasons ago. And we've tried a lot of different things. And I probably won't go back from these ones for a really long time unless another pair just happened to drop in my lap that are just as good or equal to these.
Merrell, we'd like to try those for JW.
That's right. I think they're called Fire Sky. I can look it up while you can continue. I didn't want to.
Oh, yeah, no, I have quite a few athletes who are in the truck of things for their fall marathons. Some setbacks, but I think is part of the process, right? We had somebody have like a slight little calf strain, some fueling issues that we're just trying to kind of nip them in the bud and figure out why our energies aren't right. We did some blood work, and just making sure we're still like having fun on the process, enjoying it, but like looking forward to the temperatures dropping so we can feel the fitness that, the humbling summer provides us, and the humidity and the weather. I feel like the weather's been so extreme lately. But all good. Like overall it's been busy, but good busy. I just went on a little 24-hour trip to the beach. My family's in town from Michigan, and it was just so funny because I went out, set my alarm. I was like, the one thing that I want for me that I'll, even when I'm on vacation, is like that wake up early, watch the sunrise, get your run in, or whatever you want to do. But got out of the hotel, snuck out while everyone was still sleeping. And I brought my race belt and my phone, but I forgot my AirPods, forgot water. Like, I forgot socks, but my daughter, I just stole hers. And it was just funny though, because once I got it, we were right on the boardwalk, and there were so many other people without music, and nobody actually had water, which I was shocked because I'm like, it is so hot out, but like, they're like the locals here. But it was like going back to I feel like we have all like, you get into, I need this and I need this and I need this, or I can't run at all, or I can't do the thing. But like reminding yourself, it really is that simple of like just tying up your shoelaces and going. I ended up meeting a lady, and because she had like her speaker on, playing music, and I was like, I'm just gonna run with you. And we and her had so much fun chit-chatting, and she showed me some fun little routes. And again, it just kind of reminds you of like all the things that running can bring, and just the sport in general, of who you're going to meet, the community, the like-mindedness, and but I think that's, well, JW, I know we're going to be talking a lot about etiquette and the happiness and the things when you want to curse somebody out. But JW, what do you got?
I had my censor button ready for when we talk about that stuff. The shoes were actually MTL Long Sky was the name of those trail shoes. She just did death race in them, and it was did great. She loved them. There was very, very little adaptations. You go back a few more episodes and we talked about, new kit, new gear and trying it out. And you never break in shoes, you adapt to them. These ones were very, she wore them for a few hours around the house. And they adapted quite well. The other also, before I get into what we got going on, that episode about inaugural races and destination races, that was episode 13. So if anybody wanted to check that one out, they can go back and catch up on some episodes and check out episode 13 for that. For us, what do we got? I got a warning. Oh, you're still recording. There we go. We're in the thick of it. We're just seems like we're busy every weekend, right? Like once we kind of get going with the Sinister 7, that first ultra, then we 2 weekends ago we were up in Grand Cache for the death race, Canadian death race. Oh my goodness, it is or was the, I'm told, second worst weather for that race in all the years that it's been running. They got this like Mount Hamel, that if you're doing the 100-miler or teams or individual, you hit it at night. And during the night, they had thunder lightning on both sides of them. So that tells me that's probably 2 different storms when they're on the mountain. They had fog, they had rain, they had hail, they had snow, and they had sleet.
Wow.
All up there, search and rescue. So nobody, to the best of my knowledge, nobody was seriously hurt, but search and rescue were pulling a lot of people down that decided to DNF, right? And it just kind of tapped out because of the weather. I saw the winds were just insane up there from the pictures that I had seen. So kudos to everybody who towed the line on that one. And if you were able to make it through that storm, kudos. And if you didn't, there is absolutely zero shame in that. To have that kind of weather at the top, you're talking a little bit about kit. Didn't bring water, didn't bring socks and things like that. Sometimes there was apparently there was an athlete that said, "Oh, I'm only out here for 20 something K. I don't even need to worry about water." Right. And then, so of course, the story I hear is that people are giving them half their water because he was basically in bad shape on the trail. Right. And so it's some of this stuff that's just, this is, etiquette. If we were going to talk about trail etiquette and some things you don't know, when, race directors and producers, when they put on these races and they have strongly suggested kit to bring with you, there's probably a reason why it's on the list, right? Like if you didn't bring proper gear to the top of Mount Hamel for that storm, and you just went up in t-shirts and shorts, you probably might have a different outcome than if you had your space blankets or, emergency blankets, depending on what you call them. Toques. You always tell everybody, I don't care if it's, 100 degrees at the base of the mountain. When you get to the top, it's always going to be different weather fronts up there, and you may need a toque. You may need something. And again, it was just more of you got to be able to protect yourself up there for hours. Right? Because search and rescue were busy that night. So there was probably about a 4-hour wait to get hauled down off the mountain if you couldn't come down on your own, kind of thing. So, but it was a great race. So we were at that one. And then last weekend we were in Red Deer, which is about 2 hours north of us, and Spartan race for the kids. So the kids doing Spartan racing. So that was good. Iric did 1.5K and Runa did the 3K for the kids, and they both did very well. We're actually home this weekend, which will be really, really nice. And that puts Jess in the middle of the bridge, a 3-week bridge plan between her races. And then in 2 weekends, we'll be over in Kimberley, BC. Training is going great. And I'll throw another little plug in for the nutrition that we're doing on the trail, because when she was in death race, I don't think we talked about death race since the last episode, right? Okay. Strictly with the honey again, for fueling and getting that 90 grams per hour again. It was great. It was quite a bit cooler, so we didn't quite go through as much. So I think she missed 1 flask, and I think she missed 2 packages of hydration, but still felt great. Right?
I had a question about
Yeah.
your honey. So they talk a lot about, and I apologize if my mic is bad. I think I got disconnected from it. But they talk about the, 1-to-1 glucose to fructose ratio. So honey, is it just one source of
No, it's
sugar?
2.
It is 2.
Yeah, it is
So
2. That was a very something that I wanted to make sure that we have.
I know we talk about the caffeine. You added the matcha.
Yeah, matcha green tea powder. We add that to every 3rd hour for her caffeine, plus the caffeine protocol that we have before the race. And then I still really like that we pre-make the hydration before we leave on the road trip, right? And so we take BioSteel, 1 scoop of this hydration BioSteel powder. We pour it into these sealing bags or whatever you want to call them, and then we add our 1/8 teaspoon of sodium. So that's kind of done for the hydration, and then we just we can seal them, so they're no different than the regular BioSteel single serve packs or any of them that you see, and you just rip the top off and pour the powder out. I just found ones that we can make ourselves. They're just silver foil wrapped or whatever. And then the night before the actual race, that's where now she mixes up her flasks of the honey, and now we can adjust that sodium. So we dropped the sodium a little bit, I believe, for that race because we knew it was going to be a bit cooler, right? Because as we know, and for those of you that aren't sure, because I did have this question, is, well, what happens if I take too much sodium, right? So what if I'm, if I'm only needing, let's say 900 and I'm taking 1600? Well, typically what's going to happen is your body's going to retain water, right? Because it needs to be able to flush and work with the sodium. And Alicia and Coach Ann, throw in your thoughts on this as well for this. But it's basically you're going to retain that water, and the kidneys are going to work a little harder to push it through as well, right? So it's too much sodium is it's not great. Right. And so,
yeah, if anything, you might find having GI distress.
Yes. Yeah.
The problem is high sodium and low sodium are similar symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be feeling like that if you might have a headache. It's that fine line of, but the good news is we do have kidneys that will flush it out regardless. But that's why we practice in training, and those are the things that happen when, because obviously in the winter when it's cooler out, you're not having to cool down as much, but it's knowing. So that's always what gets me to with sweat tests, because that sweat test works for that moment in that temperature. But what about when that changes? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, We did a block on this in nutrition during the course. It was a few years ago now when we did it, but surprisingly, it doesn't change too much. You have to have, you got to be kind of more it's 50 degrees versus 100 degrees. So I always tell athletes, and this is just what works for me, and what I tell my athletes is, well, if you're going to do sweat tests, do 1 winter training and then 1 summer training. And then that will kind of be, yes, it's going to fluctuate, but not very much that we would have to reevaluate a whole bunch of specifics in a plan, if that makes sense. But there is absolutely, like you say, there is different rates at what we're sweating, and it's oddly enough, I mean, still the body, doesn't matter if it's winter or summer, we can still only process so much water per hour anyways. And that's where a lot of athletes run into that problem is, they're retaining water, but they still feel thirsty. They're taking in more water, and if the body can't process it or is holding on to it because we have overdosed on sodium, that's when you start to get that sloshy, and then you start having negative effects, right? And I just did a fact check. It is a 1-to-1 glucose to fructose for that honey.
Right? And why that's so important is that our body needs different sugars. It's transported into the body different ways. Your body uses the fructose and the glucose differently. That's why you don't want just one single source for your like your
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, no,
Like
exactly right. And
yeah.
the other supporting part to that too, Coach Ann, is that, you know, if you are taking 90 grams and you're trying to put it through a 1-lane tunnel, right, you're only going to get so much through that tunnel. Right. So you may be putting in 90, but if the tunnel only fits 60, you're only going to get 60 grams of carbs per hour that way. And so by
Just
having
opens up
those
more channels.
yeah. So by having the glucose and fructose and being 1-to-1, that means equally you've got the same amount going through, let's say, 2 tunnels to get to the muscles and everything else, like Coach Anna is saying and Coach Alicia are saying, different ways. And that way we can make sure that we keep it up. So it is important. And we did check that out when we were sort of, looking for different ways to fuel. That's, we talked about it way back at the beginning when I came up with Eat the Damn Banana, right? Like it as well. It will be, close to 1-to-1 depending on the ripeness of the banana. Glucose to fructose and getting those two sources in as well, right? And then actually, when I checked on that, believe it or not, I didn't know this. When the banana is at a certain stage of ripe, it has different nutrients in it, right? And so that balance of glucose and fructose will change depending on if it's green or
so the more ripe a banana is, the more sugar that's in it. That's why, like if you're really like a green apple contains less sugar, natural sugars than like a red apple, things like that. But yes, you're 100% right. Like the sugar content changes as it ripens. That's why you get the brown spots, and they're gross at that point anyway. Just make them into banana bread. Like you got to get yes. So not to like, we are like, we're not even to our topic of the day yet, but, this is the way the podcast always goes. What is your thought? You were talking about hydration. I have some strong opinions about, drinking just plain water on your runs. Curious
training runs or races,
training runs. So I will say my stance before I let anybody else get persuaded, but my belief is you are going to take up prime real estate in your stomach for something that's really not going to aid you in any way, because your body can't use just plain water. I have this discussion all the time with my athletes, and we probably even talked about it on the podcast at some point, but your body needs the sodium to be able to transport it from your stomach into your muscles, into the system to use it. So if you're just drinking plain water, it's great. You can wash out your mouth. It's not sweet. It's a nice little change of pace. But if you're drinking that and you're taking up that prime real estate in your stomach with something that's not truly aiding you, then you're missing out on the benefits of the proper hydration or the honey or food that you might need to use for your fueling.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely for like under 2 hours, under 90 minutes, I think if you're under an hour, you can get away with water,
Agreed.
Or if you're like, not really prone to cramping. But I mean, the reality is you're just going to probably push yourself into getting a headache, feeling really crappy. It's not just about the salt. It's also about like the magnesium and all the other electrolytes that are balancing it in it. The one time I do caveat, like if you want to have water, is if you're having, like the other day I popped like one of those like salt tabs. It was like salt and caffeine. It was like, and I sucked on it to kind of keep my mouth wet, and then I sipped on water. Or if you have, which I'm not a huge fan of, but sometimes if you can get a carb gel with electrolytes in it, and then you can want to sip on water with that because you're getting your electrolytes at least in your gel.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Like, I'm not saying like if I go out for like a short little 3-mile run here and it's been like today was 110 with the heat index, I'm going to take a little bit of water with me just so I can drink a little bit. But I mean like a longer race, a longer ride or a run, things like I would say like 2 hours plus. But you're right. You do need some of that water with certain gels to help it pull into your system. And even like a run, marathon, half marathon, I tell all my athletes at every water station, grab the Gatorade or whatever it is and grab the water. Take a sip of each. Sorry, JW, we don't have BioSteel sponsored races. But that is a completely different side tangent that we were ever planning on today, but just curious.
Yeah. I've said it a few times and I totally agree. It's like, basically I say anything under an hour, 90 minutes, your regular hydration and nutrition plan should get you through that run. Depending on, I got athletes in Texas and Miami right now. It's a little humid and a little different, but generally you should have. And so when we get into the longer ones, so we're talking 8 hours, we're talking the, 30-hour type event. I tend to try to get athletes to do about 50-50. So I want them to go through about a 500 ml flask of electrolyte water, right? So, and then for the listeners that aren't quite sure, I think it was just you, Coach Ann, that mentioned, or maybe it was you, Alicia, I'm sorry, but you were mentioning like, it was Alicia. It's not just the sodium you need. You need the potassium. Right. You need the other electrolytes and essential minerals there to think of it as each one. So sodium is a gate opener. It's what allows the ATP, which is known to the lay people to say as the energy, the carb, the energy, right? So you need something to open the gate to let that in. And that's what the sodium is, right? And so if we don't have sodium, I've seen it, and they're quite funny. I think it's Precision that has the Instagram posts out there right now with the cramp sniper, right? And you're getting, all of a sudden, you get these cramps and you're crippling. It's like you've been shot with a gun. You may think that you're having all these carbs, but if you don't have the sodium with it to open the gate to let it in, those are useless. So I just want to kind of throw that out there. And there's a lot more to it than I just need sodium. I'm just going to take the sodium tabs on a big, 70.3 or whatever it is. There's a lot of science that goes into what we need. Now, do we sometimes overthink the science? I think so. Can we keep it basic like what we're trying right now and seems to work? Yeah, we're using honey, we're using sea salt and some electrolytes. And I have athletes, and we do this ourselves, is 500 mils of the electrolytes per hour. And then I want them to balance that up to about another 400 mils of clean water. So there needs to be the mix. And again, we're kind of going back in on the biology side, is we don't want to always be pushing all these electrolytes and sodium and everything through our kidneys and our system without being able to also flush it and to kind of clean it through as well. So that's why I want them to have the clean water. And that, like you say, does help with the gels and the chews that you potentially have in your stomach to help, speed that up a little bit. And then the electrolytes for that. And again, I typically don't want much more than about 900 mils of fluid going through an athlete in the heat. We always want to try to drink more, but we'll end up getting sloshed. The body can't process it. The longer you go, so if you're doing a sprint or even a super sprint triathlon, that's a lot different on the system, even on the central nervous system, than it is on a 70.3 in a full Ironman or a 10K versus a 200 miler, right? And the longer we go into these events, the body does start to shut down or shunt blood away from things it doesn't think it needs. And digestion happens to be one of those. So as you get deeper into the endurance events, your stomach cannot digest too much anymore when you're at hour 10, 15, 20, 25 and 30, you want to keep things a little more simpler, right? Like, so in the ultra world, we see a lot of like broths and stuff like that longer, like later in the race, and earlier you might see the meatballs and the potatoes and things like that, just because we still have some pretty good blood flow going to the digestive system and it works. So kind of to tie it back, Coach Ann, yes, I want them to have electrolytes and a little bit less volume. So like, let's say 500 of the electrolyte water mix and probably about 400 of clean water. So I'm a both worlds kind of for what my athletes are doing.
And whether you're cycling versus running, that also changes things too, because obviously you can your stomach can handle a lot more when you're on a bike versus when it's running.
Yeah.
It's good, and it's because it does use a little bit less energy to ride the bike. I memean, the guys that are doing Tour de France will tell me differently. It's hard or whatever, even in the 70.3s for sure. But you just, if you don't believe me, just go look in at your triathlon plan and look at an hour foundation run versus an hour foundation ride, and look at your TSS. And you have less TSS on the bike ride than you will the run.
Hey, I have a question for you. What is race day etiquette for your paper cup that you just drank out of? Segueing into our actual topic here. What's your race day etiquette for that paper cup that you just drank out of? Are you throwing it on the ground, or are you going to hit the trash can at the end of the water stop?
Are we talking road races or are we talking trail races?
Well, a trail race, you shouldn't be throwing your stuff off into the foliage.
Trail races, we don't have paper cups.
You have reusable cups.
You get reusable cups. So a lot of times in the kits, the swag bags, they'll get just the vinyl collapsible little cup that they can they drink out of. So there's no paper cups. I
will make it a point to hit that trash can because I feel bad. And, the volunteers are always there going, no, just throw it down. I'll get it. I'm like, no, I'm going to make sure I'm not going to miss the podium. Shocking news, because I didn't threw my cup in the trash can. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, and then you think about the running hazard of it. Yes. That's why I always run with a handheld, because I can, if I need to stop to refill my water bottle, that's one thing. But to run through all that is such a nightmare and such a hazard on so many levels.
Yeah, that's a good time to also, because during your race, you have thrown your nutrition wrappers and things like that in your vest or in your pocket. I always do my gels coming up to the aid station so that I can throw it away at the end when I've had my hydration. But if I need something that's off and the water stop is not at the right time, then I'll just hold on to it. I mean, there are times when you actually will, like Ironman, if you litter on the bike course intentionally or unintentionally, because sometimes things happen, you will get a penalty. Yeah.
Yeah, if the bottle even falls out. So that's a good segue into, so you're talking about the aid stations, water stations. So even post-race, and did this in Grand Cache, and I'm sure it's mostly a JWism, but they'll have gummy bears, and they have beef jerky, so at the table, bananas and orange, so all this food, right? There's just a smorgasbord of food. And so I was going over to get Jess something, or one of the kids something after their race. And this person just reached over my shoulder, which is the first, really? Come on now, you can wait. I'm here. But just stuck their hand right into the gummy bears, and then just started pulling them out. And I'm like, or we could use tongs that are sitting right there beside it. Now, does that gross me out? Absolutely. Hopefully it grosses a lot of you out, because think about what that racer was probably doing about an hour ago, and we were talking about this one before we hit recording, but doing snot rockets. Right? So, you're plugging one nostril, you're blowing a snot rocket, and please, athletes, when you do this, do a little quick shoulder check, just like when you're changing lanes in your car, and make sure someone's not coming up beside you that you're just about to blow a snot rocket onto them, right? But now and everybody's always going to kind of wipe their nose a little bit, right? And then kind of on your shirt, we all do it, it's racing. But then you go stick that same hand into those gummy bears. To me, that is just uncalled for. There's a little kind of etiquette there that says they went to all the trouble to get the tongs. They got nice little that's where they do have cups, paper cups, right? And you can put all this into a nice paper cup and do it like someone else is going to. Make somebody else is actually going to eat out of that after you.
I have a really good one. And I was laughing when my athlete, he just did Lake Placid Ironman. They had a rule. It was a respectable rule, which he's like, I respected the rule, and it cost me about 15 seconds to not pee in the lake.
Mm.
Oh, but how are they gonna know?
That's the thing. He said I respected the ask.
Yeah, it's not like the swimming pool where the water changes color.
Interesting. I thought that was so comical, but I guess when you get that many people and they're all peeing in the pool,
It's a very pristine lake. That's very like
it is a very pristine lake.
Maybe that's the reason. I think also kudos to any swimmer who can actually pee while they're swimming. I've never been able to do that.
Sure.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I'm either peeing while I'm waiting to start or
I would say it's good luck to pee in your suit, kind of like warms you up.
We talked about this already. You're going to get cold eventually. Come on. Is it really worth it for 30 seconds?
No. So speaking of pee, one of my biggest ones that I experienced was, I think it was Chattanooga Half Ironman years ago. I was coming up on a gentleman on the bike, and all of a sudden he did not look back. He did not glance over his shoulder, but I could see him rise up, and we were on a flat. I was like, oh, I know what you're about to do, buddy. And he started peeing, and, we're going like, I don't know, 18 miles an hour on the bike. And as he's standing up to pee, he's losing some momentum because he's not still pedaling, and I'm catching up. I was, what I say earlier, like no pun intended, I was pissed. Like I was so mad. So I think I did say something to him on the way by. I'm like, either pull over, use the porta potty. Like, I get it. Sometimes things happen. Ironman, it's not uncommon for people to pee on their bikes.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, I just have some respect.
Yeah.
For
the people. I mean, that goes right along with the snot rockets. You're blowing a horker out, whatever you want to call it. Just have that quick little shoulder check for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I've had athletes tell me, I've experienced this myself too, but being a female passing a man on the bike, it's like they get this, it was a moment, there's just been moments of like, it's like an ego trip of like they want to block you instead of let you pass. And then they play that game of drafting. I've seen this in mountain bike world. I've seen this in the cycling, road cycling, even out in like trails. It's just like and it doesn't necessarily, what are you guys' thoughts? Have you ever experienced
leave the ego at home, right? Like you're out there to do a race. If someone is like, I always say, go have the best race the course will give you. You will get the result you trained for. Right? Really, at the end of the day, I mean, if you put in 2 hours a week, your race time will reflect 2 hours of training a week. If you're putting in 14 hours a day, like the pros and elites, then their output, it reflects that. So whether, a guy getting passed by a gal, like really, it's just like, I mean, kudos. Good. Go for it. You obviously trained more than I did, right? You're ready. Or you just pick better parents. At the end of the day, maybe you just pick better parents. I don't know.
I think too, there's, so that does, circling back to etiquette, is that when you are coming up on somebody and you're ready to pass, you do say loudly on your left, so that the person that you're approaching is aware that someone's coming beside them.
Yes. Newbies, please. It doesn't mean jump to the left. It doesn't mean you move to the left. It usually means if I'm saying on your left, for me, like, and this is a lot of trail world as well, you just stay right where you are, right?
Yeah.
And I am going by you on your left, right? Otherwise, I'll say, I need to pass on your left. Right? Or I want to pass, or can I get by? That is now a different story where you may have to get off the trail. But sorry, I just wanted to throw it before we get too into that. Sorry, Coach Ann. I just wanted to say, please, because I've seen this so many times. I've done it. I've called out on your left, and all of a sudden I'm just, boom, I'm into them. And it's just like, no, sorry, I meant like you stay where you are. I'm past. Oh, is that what it means? It's like,
I have another, someone's having a happy birthday. What's that? There's another one that this is maybe a little bit different than race etiquette, but it's a time when you don't have to use etiquette. It's going to sound weird, but when we were in Kansas City, there was an all women's try that I had done several years, and I loved it. It's not around anymore, but one year my husband and I decided to be water support. So we had our kayaks up there. And I was out along the longest stretch. It was like a 500-yard swim, but it was all women. So it was very beginner friendly. A lot of ladies who were getting into the sport, kind of uncomfortable, anyway, I was out there in the kayak and it was a rough day. And the amount of ladies that were bumping into each other and apologizing in the water. Like I was laughing because I'd hear this, oh, sorry, excuse me, pardon me, sorry. And I'm like, ladies, just swim. It's okay. Like no one's getting in your way intentionally, but there was more. I started laughing because we as humans are so prone to just like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm in your way. Or, oh, I kicked you in the face. So sorry. But then I'm like, no, we don't have to do that. Like I've had a bloody nose from a swim before, but nobody apologized to me. So
I was just talking with one of the athletes last night at 3433 triathlon bike session, and it was interesting because we were talking about the opposite side of that and not being polite, where people actually do it intentionally, right? So we've all been there. We've had that elbow come down on the head on purpose, or we kind of get kicked or whatever it is. But if you think about it, I mean, like, how do you get caught?
Well, there is a thing too, like, and I'm going to wrap myself out, but my friends know that I do this. In the swim, if I have somebody, like if I find feet, I'm going to find somebody's feet on the swim and I'm going to hang in their bubbles and I'm going to let them do like there's a little bit of an advantage. There's drafting in the swim, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to let them do the sighting. I'm going to stay in their bubbles. I'm going to stay on their feet. But if somebody does it to me, like I'm good if you're hanging back there because I can feel when somebody's behind me. It changes just a little bit. But if you constantly like touch my feet, then I kick harder. And I'm like, I'll either pick up the speed or I'll kick harder, and then usually they will like either back off or go around. But that is something too I think it's also another little bit of an etiquette. Like if you do like once or twice is kind of, you can't help it. But if it's a continual, then be respectful and change your pace and move around or go a different
Like,
direction.
have you ever seen a penalty in the water?
No, nobody knows what's
I mean,
going
like,
on out there.
like I said, like, how do you call them? Like, you pretty much get away with it.
It's legal to draft in the swim.
It is legal to draft.
It is, but I'm saying like when you get the elbows, or like when you do that extra little, maybe you do the kick a little further out because you don't want them right behind you or whatever. Like
there's that.
Just so I've heard, right? So I've heard.
Right? I don't know. That's funny. Yeah, I had a bloody nose from a kick to the face in the Pacific Ocean, which is super fun with sharks and things like that. But yeah, it's fine. I lived. Yeah, there's a lot of in the swim, nobody knows what's going on under the water.
But kind of going back to the on your left, it is a little bit different when you're running and when you're cycling, right?
Yeah.
And like, please don't leave it till you're like 2 seconds, but like two steps behind me or whatever. And now you want that pass and you're there. And it's like, literally, if I slowed down like a little bit, you're tripping on my feet. Like that's kind of uncalled for too. And, call it out, right? Like, and some of the etiquette, I guess, as well, like when you're on the bike, how many times have you seen potholes or stuff on the road and called it out? Right. I'll do it. I won't even bother looking to see anybody behind me. I'll just yell pothole on left or something like that.
Or
right.
We'll point. You just point down.
Well, depends how balanced I am. Right. But at the very least, you're calling something out and they can look around, kind of thing. Right. Because you're racing, but at the end of the day, you don't want to be part of a pileup either. If something
or the cause
happens.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Along that lines of signaling, when I'm a big run walker. I'm all about it. So when you are running, well, first of all, there's that dreaded beep that's always going off. which you can't do much about that. If you are going on a walk break, you're running, there is the etiquette of like raising your left hand, getting over to the side of the road, not just straight in the middle, getting over to the side towards the curb, and then opening up that kind of like pass so people can pass on your left, but also like raising your hand so you're signaling that you're stopping. Don't stop and then raise your hand because you get some
I've
crowded
had
races.
collisions. Yeah, I've run right in the back of people and knocked them down. There's one lady, and I felt bad, but it was just like I'm sorry, but you literally just stopped.
Yeah.
Like right on the course, you stopped. Like if you got to stop, I get it. Like
somebody can get hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alicia,
what do you got?
Yeah, and I'm like feel like I'm drawing a blank right now. It's interesting because what made me purchase my road bike about 15 years ago was I signed up for this 300-mile, it was for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. It was a 300-mile ride over 3 days. We biked 100 miles, and I bought the bike for that and like literally learned over that 300 miles how to group ride and, how to pass all the things because there was thousands of us riders out there. So it's one of those things of just do it, jump into it. Don't learn it on race day. Please don't learn it on race day.
Like, how do you two feel about overlapping tires when you're in group rides?
That's not my kind of
to
group
draft,
ride.
you got to get close. So it's a game of, but when you feel, they say drafting is 30% savings. Like, the amount of work that you save being behind someone's wheel is incredible. And I will say I'm a little person. So if I can get behind a big dude when I'm running and let them take the wind and I can hang out behind them.
So I'll ask you though, do you have more draft legal races there than you do? Because I was going to say, like when someone says it's draft legal, you're like, oh, wow, really? Because it's not common here to have draft legal.
I don't think there's, there are some, but
I have an athlete racing this weekend, and it's a draft league. It's a sprint try, and she's trying to qualify for this Worlds, and it's draft, and it's psyching her up because she's so not used to drafting and not being able to draft that she's like, I can, and I'm like, you need to draft if you can, but you just need to race your race at the same time. Because it's one thing to draft on a road bike, it's another thing to draft on a triathlon bike in aero.
There are a lot of group rides that will not allow triathlon bikes for that very reason, because a lot of the like old tried and true cyclists do not love the air because you're in aero and a lot of people are not comfortable in there. So they're like not stable on that bike and able to react quickly. As far as like, I don't know, our group rides were always a little bit different. We were out there I say group, but we weren't truly like drafting a whole lot because that's not how we are able to race. We're just training by time and we're with each other just because we wanted other people around to go ride 5 hours or whatever thing we were doing. But I think that there are times when like we would come back on this stretch of road. It was just kind of like we always rode this stretch and it was always windy. I swear it was windy both ways, going out and coming back. And we had plenty of times where it was, we could get 20-mile-an-hour winds easily. And you're coming back after a long day on the bike. And some of the guys would be like, just find my wheel. Like, we'll put your head down and find my wheel and we'll pull you back home. I remember being out there fighting the wind though and training for Ironman. And we were at the end of like 100-mile ride and we came up on this, and it was a windy day and it was just cold. And we came up on this pack of guys. There were probably 10 of them. And they just were like coming in a big circle. And in the middle was one little tiny girl, and they were just pulling her. They must have been going like 22, 23 miles an hour. And they were I don't think she was even pedaling. They were just sucking her along.
Training her.
But that's the thing though, is like the etiquette there is like, it has been a discussion. You're not just hanging on wheels. I've been out on this again, rides again, but I felt somebody on my back wheel, and I turned around, and I'm like, it was some kid that was old enough to be one of my kids. And I was like, oh, all right, you're going to hang on my wheel. Like, I'll pull you along, son, and then get to this top of this hill. And he like comes up beside, he's like, oh man, thanks a lot for that ride. I'm like, how did it feel that your mom just pulled you up that hill? He did not like that.
Well, and then again, coming back to etiquette, if you're gonna ride someone's wheel, then you also gotta pull
You
them
got to
as
take
well.
a turn. Yep.
You gotta take a turn. You gotta
at
hang
the
out in
front.
the front a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, that's more. So, I mean, I guess you could say that's in racing too. You see them. I mean, that's why there's teams in racing.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's
Yeah.
bike teams, because it's definitely not a one. It's not just Tadej Pogacar winning that race. It's that team that's pulling him through to win that race.
Well,
Yeah.
the appreciation can go a long way too. Like, say thanks when thanks
Yeah.
kind of needed, right? Like, which,
Mhm.
kind of going back to on your left, someone
Mhm.
moves, right? And someone, and here's the other thing that kind of bugs me a little bit is I've had some athletes call out on your left or want to pass, right? And it's just like, okay, but they almost expect you to do it right now. And I just want, especially anywhere, just not just trail, but anywhere you are, give the person that you want to pass first an opportunity to see where they can like move out of your way. So, I'm
Right.
thinking single track, right? Are they going to put themselves in danger trying to get out of your way on a 30-hour race where maybe you wait an extra minute until you've got a place where you can get that transit or that pass safely? But when someone does kind of move for you, is it really going to kill you to say thanks
Mhm.
Right.
as you go by and say, hey, appreciate it. Thank you very much, kind of thing, right? Like, it's, and then it's like, hey, I don't know, like, okay, cool. Yeah. Have a great race. See you at the finish. Save it, get a beer for me or whatever kind of joke as they go by you, right? It's the ones that are on your left and then they say nothing as they go by. Now, maybe they're sucking wind. I don't know. But, a little handshake or something to show that you appreciate it. And that goes again on the bikes. If you're getting past on the bikes and, you're moving out your way, out of the way. And even when, so I hear, I do this a lot. I'll hear people behind me. Right. And so, and I know I'm on single track and they haven't said a word. Right. And I'll say something like, do you need to get by? Right. Maybe they just don't know they're supposed to say anything. And 9 out of 10 times it's like, nope, I'm good right here. We're pacing great. Right. You're a great pacer or whatever. It's all good. Or they're like, yeah, I'll let you know when I want to pass or something like that. And you can have those kind of conversations. I think that kind of like cool. Right. So that kind of courtesy can kind of go both ways. If someone lets you by, just acknowledge it and say thanks kind of thing. Right. It's, we're all out there. We're doing a race. Yes. I mean, you don't know what that person is racing. They can be a relay team member. They got way fresher legs. They can be 100-miler and you can be a 50-miler. Like, so it's all different what they're racing. Everybody's got different goals. And it kind of segues into a part that just came up into my mind, and we had it on the weekend. I often say, and you may have heard me say it here, a lack of planning on your part constitutes a zero emergency on mine, right? Like, just because you failed to plan doesn't mean that I have to freak out with you because you failed to plan. And we saw it at the Kids Spartan race on Saturday. This lady, there was probably about a 15-20 minute wait in line kind of thing, right? So it was pretty deep for the kids to get through. And this lady, we just got there. We had about 10 minutes to spare. That was on us because we kind of checked out of the hotel a little bit late so the kids could have a swim. But this lady comes up and goes, my kids are racing at 11. Can I get in front of the line? And so I said, we're racing at 11 as well. And I think the 5 people behind us with their kids are also racing at 11. So no, I do mind if you kind of get in front of us because we've waited. I said, it sucks. I appreciate that. And then so she looked at the other people and they're like, they went back like 10 people and they said, yeah, we're all racing at 11 as well. kind of thing, right? And so it's just like, so that kind of expectation, sometimes that, yes, sometimes stuff happens. And if we weren't racing at 11, I might have said yes. But what about the people that were behind me? Maybe that one person that was racing at 11, right? So just because I say
It's like
no
when you're on
doesn't.
the airplane and you got to catch
Yes.
your flight, and
Yeah.
but everybody wants to get
Yep.
off the plane. Everyone has a thing somewhere
They
to go.
stand up.
Yeah.
I will say
yeah.
is to the JW said something about the finish line, which reminds me too. There is at the shorter distances, you can't help but share the finish line with other people and whatever it looks like. It gets crowded. But if you are, there is a little bit of an etiquette, not a little bit, there's a lot of etiquette with, I would say 70.3 is not quite as much, but giving the person in front of you at Ironman, especially giving the person in front of you kind of the red carpet. Cause you come up to, it's a big deal. They've got the Ironman carpet. You're coming up to the finish line. They're announcing that you're an Ironman, and it's there's live footage, there are cameras, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Big spotlights for those of us that are finishing when it's dark. And then, but it's like respecting that person getting that finish line and like having great finish photos within reason. Like, if you're coming in with your significant other and you're holding hands and you're having a good old time, or if you found somebody out on the course that got you through that finish, like got you to the finish. I've seen a couple people come across together and celebrate that together. But for the most part, like you kind of hold back a little bit and let that person have their finish line moment to themselves and then go on and have yours
I tend
too.
to agree. And I'm also a little bit it's okay to kind of go across somewhat together, I guess. But my pet peeve comes in is when now you're standing there, you're done, you've got your medal, and
Keep
you're trying to get
moving.
all the photos, and
Get out.
racers are trying to come across, right? We have this at, it was particularly one of the kids' races that we did with the ultras. And this dude was actually literally parked in the alley with his bike and the stroller behind it with a dog. And the kids had to run around him to get to the finish line. He was only like 20 feet in front of the finish line because he was talking to somebody. And it's just like, I finally looked, I just said, like, move, let the kids have their race. Like, your kid is done, get off the course, kind of thing, right? And so there's definitely that. Just remember, everybody kind of pays the same money to be at this race and wants the same. I get you want the photos. I'm not saying don't do the photos, but time them when racers aren't coming across the line. And now you're kind of like you're saying, Coach Ann, like they're doing the whole, right? Like Jess this year, I don't know where it came from, but she's trying to do cartwheels over the finish line. Right. But, you just ran 9 hours. You're not really doing a cartwheel. So it looks,
It's not a good idea.
It looks funny and it looks great. But, a lot of racers do some of that cross the line. This is my thing this year. And I think it's great. But when you're done, move and let the other kind of racers come through. I know we're coming up on time, and one of the ones that really sparked this, because when I came back from one of the races and I talked to you both, I said, we got to talk about etiquette because this really annoyed me at this race. We set up, and this kind of goes a little bit with the TA that we talked about before the show, the transition areas better. So triathlon is, swim to bike to run. In trail running, it's just your TA where you come in and you refuel and fill all your water bladders and everything back up. We have TA tents, right? So a nice big 10 by 10 tent. I can't tell you the number of times that we've come to this tent and we've got squatters, right? I'm basically okay with that. Right? Like, if anything, because, it's the branded tent, it's the Ready Endurance coaching tent and everything. I'd rather see some people under it, right? That's all kind of cool, right? Like optics, if you want to call it. But when I show up with a Ready Endurance shirt or a shirt that matches the tent, please don't give me dirty looks like I just took your space. That's my tent, right? Like, I planned it. I got there. I set it up. We got our stuff in there. All good. I've had some people that come and they're like, oh, gee, sorry, we'll get out of your way. And it's like, no, it's all good. There's just one of us in here for this transition. You can keep that corner. Just give me some of the shade or whatever it is, kind of stuff, right? I'm okay with that. Again, a little courtesy will get you a long way. I mean, we had one race where this lady had like her 3 kids in there, taking all the shade, strollers and everything, garbage littered all throughout it. And I got dirty looks for trying to use it. I put a chair down and I sat down and the kids were there and she gave us dirty looks. Like we were taking her space. And I'm just like, use it, but appreciate that it might actually belong to somebody else that wants to use it, kind of thing. Right. So, what about you and your TAs? Like what experiences you have? Like I kind of like the 2x2 rule, right? When you're setting up your transitions, what do you both think on that?
I think that for the most part, you just get a little tiny space. And I do know a lot of the longer distances are not allowing backpacks and bags and things like that in the transition area. So that's super helpful, but really like you don't need we could do a whole other podcast on buckets and transition if we wanted to, but, you don't need it. Just the bare minimum, go back to the basics.
Yeah. And like when I'm saying 2x2, I'm thinking, just 2 feet by 2 feet. Just give me that little bit of a space that I can peel a suit if I don't have a professional stripper doing it for me.
Right. You know one.
Right. Or I want to change, from the bike and a place to drop things. We'll get your thoughts here in a second, Alicia, but it was, I've been in TAs where, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I had a routine where, I'm doing my caffeine protocol. I'm there, I'm visualizing, I'm setting myself up mentally for the day. Everything's nice and quiet. I'm there early. I've got my spot on the rack, right? And I'm making sure I'm taking a small footprint. And then I come back like an hour later, 2 hours later, whatever it is, and I go to use it. And they've got their handlebars over top of my handlebars on the bike because they had to be that close. My gear is, there's been a couple of times where I've had to go looking for it almost, and it's like on the other side of the rack when it was on the one side. That's just bad form in my mind, right? Like you don't need to, again, a lack of planning on your part is not an emergency on mine. If you slept in, you were late, you didn't think the parking was going to be bad, and now you're just finding that 1-2 foot section that, maybe the racer to my right or left is sharing it with me, and now you want to squeeze a bike in there because you didn't get there early enough, I think that's bad form. I don't know. What's your thoughts, Alicia?
Yeah, I mean, in general, I always tell my athletes, like, try to get a spot at the very end. So you only have one neighbor, but obviously that's not, realistic in all aspects. My next tip is to park your bike next to the nicest bike out there because they'll either be faster than you and they'll be gone by the time you get there, or they've done this a time or two. So they're, try not just put yourself next to that, that Huffy bike or the Walmart bike that
not there's anything wrong with that. If you're starting out, that's what you got. That's what you got. But it's kind of like the beat up Datsun next to the Lamborghini. The Lamborghini's probably worried about getting scratches, and the Datsun's probably not.
Set yourself up for but that's the thing. 90% of everything you do is going to be great. It's that 10%. And I was thinking about this when we were talking about, on your left, on your right. But if you guys don't know, I live in Jersey, and the worst thing about this is the traffic. And it's nothing like being in the fast lane and getting passed on your right, or passing somebody on their right. And then you have to give them that look of like, why are you in the fast lane? Get over, buddy. So it's just etiquette, right? But sometimes people aren't aware that there is a fast lane and they shouldn't be driving the speed limit in the fast lane.
And the other one that really gets me, which you started a little bit on it, was the cups, but finding the gel wrappers everywhere. I don't care if you're on a road race. It really bothers me on the trail races, right? Like leave no footprint basically. But to be racing, and I get once in a while something's probably going to slip out of a pocket, right? I get that. That'll happen. But when there's like just so much on the
Yes.
trail. It bothers me.
Same thing in like the marathons. It's one
Yeah.
thing, it's one thing to see it, but to see somebody adamantly drop one on purpose, or but when you see them on the course, it puts a sour taste to my mouth. It's almost like finding a cigarette butt on the floor. Like you just don't really see those anymore. At least not in the States anymore. But when you're just like, or when you see somebody flick something out, like littering out their car window, it's like, dude,
I want to pick it up and put it back in their window.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't.
And for
do
me on the
that.
trail, I would love to.
Same thing when you like rip it off. Don't spit the little tiny wrapper. Like
Yes.
that matters too.
It does. It hugely does, right? Like, so Jess is awesome because she'll pick stuff like that up, right? And I have some hygiene issues, if you want to call it, or I have hygiene, whatever way you want to spin it. I don't want to pick up somebody else's gel that's been in their mouth. I don't want to pick up somebody else's water bottle or all that other stuff just because I just don't like that. So why would you make me have to do that just because, like you say, you want to rip it off because, again, you're on a 30-hour race and you seem to think that you can't stop and stuff that back into a pocket somewhere. I don't know.
What is your take on like a banana peel or an apple core or like a orange peel?
Yeah, it's biodegradable, right?
Biodegradable,
but at the same time, it's trashy.
but it's trash.
Pick
It's
it up.
still
and
trash. Yeah. Like I get it.
Yeah.
Like and when we're out hiking and
Especially
stuff,
in the trails. Yeah.
I'll pack it out. Right. Like it's kind of like, I don't see too many other banana trees around here. So it's probably not normal for banana peels to be out here for the animals and stuff. So I'll take it. And, have I done an apple core, out the window on the car in a ditch, maybe once or twice, maybe. I think it's a little different. It's the same thing. I mean, like, so trail running, right? Like for us, it's typically if you can get off the trail and go. If you're going to poop, if you're not going to bury it, bag it and take it with you. Right. And so that to me is proper leave no trace, right? Like bury it a little bit and go from there. Again, for us in trail racing, it's just like if you get off the course, I've done it a couple of times where you come by some females or whatever, like, oh, sorry, no shame in trail running, just whatever, have a nice day, they'll say or something, and just kind of keep going, right? Like, but you want to be off the trail a little bit, for that. But yeah, it's the same thing. Like I've seen people where they'll actually bring
and that goes
wipes.
for the men as well. Go off the trail and you're gonna, do your business for
Also,
respect.
Like there's the etiquette of like I've peed in some really weird places. Do not cut that out and make that the tagline to promote this episode, please. But as I was coming out, I was
promises.
like, JW is going to pick that one up.
No promises.
But I have marathon start or whatever, even a trail race. Where you go find some bushes and just get whatever you like, take a quick pee. If you see me doing that, you don't have to be like, I see you over there. You can just act like you don't and just go
going
about your business.
Yep, exactly.
You don't have to call me out. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And the only other one I was going to add to is like the toilet paper, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you're conscious enough to bring it because you thought you might have to go on the trail. Just don't drop it 2 feet off the trail either. It's like how many times we get pissed off when someone bags their dog poop and then just throws the bag into the bush. Like, what's the difference kind of thing, right? So we want to try to be respectful. We also want to remember that, with a lot of the stuff that we're, talking about leaving no trace and everything, these promoters get permits. And if it's too much for the permit issuer, you might not get that leg of the race next year. You might not get a race even next year because they might just finally have enough and just say, forget it. You left too big of a mess last time, right? We're not issuing a permit this year.
Yeah.
So it could affect you down the road. And there's Alicia with her
Celebrate!
Balloons again.
Alicia's like, I gotta go.
She is really messing us up with all of her technology tonight.
Yeah.
Was there any others that you kind of want to? I think we talked a little bit about TA, just trails, marathons, just some stuff that some people may or may not know. I think we did probably go on forever on a half of them, but
I think we're good.
yeah.
That's a wrap.
Cool. All right. If homework, audit your training manners this week. So think about yourself, right? So our listeners thinking about what maybe have you done that maybe you, even after you did it, you're just like, maybe I should have said something, or maybe, or anything like that. Or maybe you've been the person that's passing and you haven't said thanks, or you haven't moved out of the way, or you have moved out of the way. Kind of even think about what etiquette maybe you're unsure of, but one that you thought, really, that person didn't know that. Drop it in the comments. Let us know, right? And it can be anything. It can be on the road. It can be in the pool, right? Like we didn't even touch on, why a lot of triathlon asks for your swim time, right? Why there's, different lanes for lane swimming at your local pool, right? All those kinds of things. But just think about, what are going to be some things that you may have come across. Drop a comment. Let us know the unwritten rule that helped you even, right? And if you have a favorite from this episode that you're like, wow, that's really going to help me, let us know what it is, right? So endurance sports are tough enough. Knowing the simple rules takes some of the anxiety out of the equation and helps keep us all safe. I'm Coach JW. Mind your training manners, fit the training into the chaos, and see you on the trails.
You're amazing. Bless you.
That's a wrap for this week on the Endurance Balance. If you enjoyed the conversation, do us a huge favor. Hit that follow or subscribe button on your podcast app right now. It's the best way to support the show. And hey, we want to see your chaos. So come find us on Instagram at The Endurance Balance and drop us a DM. For Coach Alicia and Coach Ann, I'm Coach JW. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the trails.